Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shavarani Nabila. I'm from Chemistry Department A. Here I want to present my final semester exam assignment. The answer of number 1. The first, correspondence. Correspondence theory is a theory which holds that statements are true if they correspond to facts or statements that exist in nature for the object addressed by the statement. This theory is the earliest theory, so it's classified into the traditional theory of truth. For example, all iron, when heated, will expand. The second, coherence theory is a theory of truth based on coherence or consistency criteria. A statement is true if it conforms to a comprehensive network of logically related statements. For example, all humans will die. Person A is a human. Person A will definitely die. The third, a pragmatic theory, is a theory that holds that the meaning of ideas is limited by reference to scientific, personal, or social consequences. The pragmatic grip is the logic of observation where the truth brings practical benefits to human life. For example, the truth about the existence of hell. And the last, religious theory is a state or thing that is true and matches the actual situation or thing. For example, I still doubt the truth of this news. We must have the courage to defend truth and justice. The answer of number 2. There are 4 means of scientific thinking, namely, first, language. Language is an arbitrary sound symbol system used by members of a society to work together, interact, and identify themselves. Language is one of the most important points in scientific thinking because in addition to being able to master good and correct language, one is expected to master the steps in scientific activities so that the goals to be achieved are realized. For example, because scientific language is reproductive, so if the first speaker conveys some information A to the second speaker, then the second speaker must also receive information in the form of A as well. The second is mathematics. Mathematics is a product of intellectual brilliance. Mathematics is an important component in the means of scientific thinking, because mathematics has a significant contribution to the development of world education. For example, the statement transfer of energy from the system to the environment will be negative and replaced with a more abstract mathematical statement. For example, delta A equal mean P xV, where P is pressure and V is volume. Number 3, statistics. Statistics come from the Latin status, which has the same meaning as the word state in English. In popular scientific dictionaries, the word statistics mean tables, graphs, lists of information, and figures. Statistics is very important in the sense of scientific thinking, because statistics is an important component in terms of processing data and processing numbers after mathematics. For example, the teachers record the test scores of his students. And the last, logic. Logic is a means to think using common sense, accurately, systematically, and accountably. Logic can also be interpreted as a science in which there is reasoning that has one premise and one conclusion. Logic is very important in the life of scientific thinking because in solving all thinks humans need logic or common sense in order to complete their work properly. For example, forcing and encouraging people to think for themselves. The answer of number 3, the rationalism paradigm assumes that the source of human knowledge is ratio. In the process of developing human knowledge, it must start from ratio. Without ratio, it's impossible for humans to have knowledge. The ratio thinking. So from this, thinking will grow a science. For example, I understand myself as a thinking being. So it must also be accepted that my thinking is my essence. The empiricist paradigm assumes that the source of knowledge isn't from ratios, but from the human sense themselves. A person's actions and behavior are based on experience and observations of the surrounding environment. For example, a child says rudely because he finds someone who says rudely in his surroundings, whether family or friends. The answer of number 4. The first ontology comes from the Greek ontos, which means existence, and logos, which means study or science. Ontology is the study or science of being. For example, ontology of houses. Home designs in the current era are more varied, such as flats and apartments that didn't have this design in ancient times. Epistemology is a theory or science about the basics of knowledge. Epistemology also means a scientific discipline that is evaluative, normative, and critical. For example, in everyday life, we are close to how to find food. The question is, how do you know that something you want is food and can be eaten? Based on this, what you think and think of as food is food. The third, axiology. Axiology comes from the Greek axios, which means proper, and logos, which means study or science. Axiology is a science that studies the benefits or values that we get from a science. For example, through legal norms, people can know that actions are wrong and violate the law and which are not, and at the same time know the values of justice. The answer of number 5, hierarchy of knowledge. The first, tradition is the law's foundation in knowledge. Something is considered true because it has been considered true science long ago. Sometimes traditions have no scientific basis, and the reasons aren't even known, only done continuously because it's usually done in the past. For example, people often lift weights with 3 sets of 10 reps if asked the reason the person does that. The answer is because it's often done by many people. The second, authority is something that is considered true because it's said by experts. For example, the students in the class will assume that something said by the teacher is true because the teacher is considered an expert. The third, trial and error. Trial means try and error means wrong. Trial and error is used to gain better knowledge. After experimenting many times, it will be known where the error lies and correcting the error so that new knowledge is obtained that is deeper than before. For example, a scientist conducts research on drugs with rats as his experimental object. Apparently, after the drug was given to mice, the rats died. Then the scientist examines where the error lies and fixes it. The fourth, logical reasoning, is a systematic process that combines personal experience, intelligence, and formal thinking systems to gain knowledge. For example, at the top, the weather is cold. On the rocks, the weather is cold. In the valley area, the weather is also cold. In conclusion, area that are located in the highlands produce temperatures in these areas that are also cold. The fifth, the scientific method, is the top of the pyramid of the scientific hierarchy. The scientific method includes systematic, empirical, controlled, and critical proposition points on hypotheses. For example, when we are going to write a paper or scientific paper, we must apply the scientific method before starting writing. The answer of number 6. The Islamization of knowledge is the liberation of humans from magical, mythological, and animistic national cultural traditions which are contrary to Islam, and from the shackles of secular understanding of thought and language, as well as liberation from the control of their physical impulses, which tend to be secular and unfair to one's nature, man. The existence of the Islamization of science is motivated by the verses revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, which clearly emphasize the spirit of the Islamization of science, namely, when Allah emphasizes that He is the source and origin of human knowledge. Forms of Islamization of science by Islamizing, existing, and developing knowledge. In the Islamic paradigm, integration between religion and science is something that is possible because it's based on the idea of oneness or tawhid. The integration of religion and science can present a new awareness that emerge through views that there are more harmonious, holistic, and comprehensive. The background to the integration of religion and science is due to dualism or scientific dichotomy between general sciences on the one hand and religious science on the other. The form of integration of religion and science is by thinking fairly in solving problems, thinking in a balanced way between science and religion. Thank you. This is for me, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.